guys ready?
Yep.
We're going to call the regular meeting to order. It is now 7 o'clock. Requirements of the Sunshine Law have been met. This meeting was advertised in Burlington County Times on January the 6th, 2023. Electronic notice was given to the NJAC 5:39-1.5. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now have a moment of silence. Roll call.
Committeewoman Berkeley.
Present.
Committee Mayor Carr.
Present.
Committeewoman Mungo. Mayor Henry.
Present.
Committeewoman Wright.
Approval of minutes, December 20th, 2022, regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Berkeley.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Mungo. Wright. Mayor Henry.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
January 3rd, 2022, reorganization meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Berkeley.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Mungo. Wright. Mayor Henry.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
January 17th, 2022, regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Mayor, is there any way that we can improve the microphones or the way we can hear people in the audience? I know it's hard for the people taking minutes, especially I'm way down here, and it's hard for them to hear there. I noticed that there's a lot of things that were kind of missing, and it's probably because they couldn't be heard because I spoke out there. Either that or encourage them to come up and talk at the podium.
Certainly, I can encourage them to talk. And as far as the microphones, I don't know if you guys tested them. I know we talked about that the one out there needed batteries or something like that. And it seems like it's always up and down, but if we have to buy a new microphone, spare no expense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Roll call.
Berkeley.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Mungo.
Yes. Oop.
Wright. Mayor Henry.
I knew that was going to happen.
Carries 3-0.
January 17, 2022, executive meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Berkeley.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Mungo. Wright. Mayor Henry.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
We're going to open the meeting to public comments on agenda items only. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Getz, 109 West Maple Tree Drive. As far as the fire department agreement, shared services, it looks like from a budget standpoint, this probably costs West Hampton money. So I'd really like to understand if we've looked at how this impacts us from a budget standpoint. Also, since we're storing equipment there, does that mean they have access to use our equipment when we're not there operating it? If so, then who's responsible for repairs and maintenance of such equipment? And overall, it looks like, Lumberton's a decent distance from here. I don't know how beneficial it is for us to be providing aid as opposed to Hainesport or maybe Mount Holly or some of the other towns that are a little bit closer.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hold it down. Okay.
All right. Terrence Brown, 9 Pine Tree Drive, West Hampton. Yeah, that's good. Mike,
Speak up.
I got a couple questions I have is, number one is, about the shared service agreement. I wanted to know, will it be more explicit so the public can actually read that agreement? Because I kind of remember I think it's the fire chief was mentioning that they're low-end employees, they need employees, and to me it sounds like if you're going to be having a shared service agreement, well, will they be hiring new employees? Is there something, out there that's going to be like, hey, we got to recruit more, get more firefighters because we're going to be working in Lumberton, working with Lumberton. And, just to kind of read that agreement to see, how much resources is going to be really costing West Hampton. We already, from what we can understand, low on employees and, now you add an additional task, working with them, I'd like to know a little bit more about that. And also, it seems like as long as it always passes agreements, there's been discussion, so why are you guys now just reading this deal tonight? From my understanding, you can't discuss this outside, so this will be the first time discussing it tonight here, but Lumberton has passed it, so, we're past the bill to you guys according to what's supposed to be in it. So that's an interesting question, so how do you guys know about this? And what I thought just finding out that this agreement has been, being requested. I guess that's all. Did you guys hear me clearly? Hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have anyone else? That being said, we're going to close the public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 29-23, payment of vouchers. This resolution approves the payment of bills through 2/7/2023. Do we have a motion?
I move the resolution to approve the payment of bills through 2/7/23.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
I will vote for this because we need 3 votes to pass it. We need to pay our bills. I noticed one of the bills was for $44,000 for the first floor carpeting and whatever we're doing in the police station. If I remember last year, we had approved $33,000, and I thought it was going to be for the whole building. Can we get an update of where did we get the extra money, and why did the price go up for the first floor instead of the whole building? Can we get an answer?
Wendy, would you like to give an update on, she's looking for it.
It's not for capital, it's not a capital expense, so I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
I believe it was in the capital budget. You can get back to me later, okay? I don't want to take up time of the residents.
Is this the Allstate Office Interiors Flooring Project, 42.795? Re-allocation?
I wrote it was for $44,000.
You can tell me exactly what you found and what page it's on, I can look into that for you.
Okay. I will get back to you later, okay?
Okay.
Are you satisfied with getting back to her? or you-
Yes, because I have to vote yes, because we have to pay the bills. It was $42,447 for flooring, And that was in the bill, but I don't know exactly the number that it was.
Where does it say police department?
It doesn't. It says flooring, and I knew that it was for the first floor,
Where does it say first floor?
because that's what was done.
We didn't do the first floor, we did the second floor.
Oh,
Jim,
I'm sorry.
you're-
We did one floor,
Right.
not the second floor, not the first floor.
Okay, so it's probably the payment for that project.
The what?
The payment for that project,
Right.
yes.
So the second floor cost us a total of $44,000?
I believe there were two payments made, so the first, this could be the first installment that was due. I believe the quote was somewhere around 60,000 to do both, to do the entire top floor.
So we have to pay more to do the bottom floor?
Yes, which will be in the next capital ordinance.
Okay.
You okay?
No, but I'll vote yes. So I say we have to pay the bills. You need 3 votes to pay the bills.
Roll call?
Berkeley,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Longo, Wright, Mayor Henry,
Yes.
motion carries 3-0.
Consent agenda resolutions. Resolution note, consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they need to remove?
Yes, E, please. 3423.
Okay. Motion?
A motion on the consent agenda, A through D.
Second?
Roll call?
Berkeley,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Longo, Wright, Mayor Henry,
Yes.
motion carries 3-0.
First, we need to have a resolution typed out for us to approve. The resolution that was given to us was the resolution number 2023052 from Lumberton. And we cannot pass Lumberton's authorization. And I'm concerned because in that resolution, Lumberton said they were doing this so that they could save money. Now, every call costs somebody money. So if they're saving money, who's paying the money that they're saving? And I did talk with Craig about this, so you know, my concern is the 2% cap. We have a cap that we can only raise what we spent last year by 2%. And last year, we really got killed because our trash doubled. And we don't know what's going to be doubling and increasing with inflation coming. I'm very concerned. Now, last year, we already did calls to Lumberton in 2022. We did 66 fire calls. They helped us with 17. I'm not sure if we expect to do more than Lumberton, but my concern too is Lumberton is a volunteer fire department. I would probably have no problem if Lumberton wasn't a volunteer fire department. But I don't want volunteers who are not getting paid to go to a fire look at us as a safety net. That, if I don't feel like going in the snow, I know that West Hampton will come and bail us out. I'm not sure how many more we're going to do. Last year, West Hampton took 962 calls inside of West Hampton, and calls outside of West Hampton were 990 calls. We do a lot of calls to Willingboro, a lot of calls to Mount Holly, and I'm concerned about the people that work, firefighters and EMTs that work for us, because they're being pushed more to do more calls. And I think we have a responsibility to take care of our own. Last year, we had 4,177 hours of sick leave, and that is 174 20-hour shifts. That's almost like someone's sick every other shift, and they don't work 5 or 6 shifts a week. I'm just very concerned how much it's going to cost us and what we're going to have to cut out from something else, like maybe hiring another police officer. maybe hiring this, maybe supplying this to do this for Lumberton free. I realize that Lumberton has a beautiful new firehouse. I wish they had used the money to hire firefighters instead of building a firehouse where they can store our fire truck. But what happens to if we need that fire truck? Do we have to go to Lumberton and get it and bring it back here? Craig, I respect you highly, and it's nothing against you. I'm just a penny pincher. I really am. And I think this is very generous of you, and I can see that we can still do 66 calls to Lumberton, 1 or maybe 2 a week, without this agreement. But I believe, and please tell me if I'm wrong, I believe this agreement commits us to be the first group that goes if they can't come. They won't call Holly, they won't call Hainesport, they won't call Southampton. If they can't make it, we will always be the first person to come because of the agreement, because we have agreed to go, and it will probably be more than 66 calls a year. I don't know how the other people feel about it.
If I may, I kind of spoke to Craig, and what I understood to be was that this was our 2000 truck, our year 2000 truck? Right. So my understanding was they were really kind of making room in the firehouse, because right now we have some vehicles that are newer that are sitting outside in the element. So they wanted to really bring like the ambulance in that we just bought, and some of those different vehicles. Now, we have a truck that has replaced that truck, so we very rarely use that truck if we use it at all. Secondly, Lumberton has a truck. They don't need our truck. We were kind of just parking it there because we wanted to move the ambulance that we just bought inside and move some other things inside. It was crowded. And thirdly, my understanding is that we've done this for Lumberton in the past. So we obviously Lumberton is doing this for us, but they have a relationship and we have a relationship with them where we've done it for them in the past, so it was kind of reciprocal. And as far as the calls, I think there's a New Jersey law, and I could be mistaken if you guys can correct me, where a lot of these times we're helping because we're butted up against these different townships. So we're butted up against Willingboro, so we're obligated to help Willingboro, as Willingboro's obligated to help us. Maybe not with fire, but you also have to look at the total platform. In West Hampton, there's times that we have, if I may, there's times that we have 2 police officers that rotate at night. So if one of those police officers are across town and they're doing something, Willingboro then comes in to help if we have a situation over here. Now, it's not fire, it's police, but it's still about the relationship. Now, we do a lot of helping that we have to do outside of with the fire department. But these are the townships that are butting up against us. This is my understanding from when I talked to Craig. I talked to Craig this afternoon, and I also asked him about a document that we went over together and read. But the year is a 2000 truck, so I kind of assimilate that with, that's a truck that I would probably park on the curb, right, if I want to keep my newer car in the garage. And so instead of putting it on the curb, because we can't do that, we have a shared service with Lumberton where we're parking the truck in their garage. Now, granted, if they don't have a truck, then right, they're going to be using our truck. But they have their own truck. We're just using the storage. Now, obviously, if we need the truck, we feel like Lumberton is close enough that we can go get the truck. That's the understanding that I got. I don't know, Craig, if you want to comment or if that's pretty accurate.
So,
yes.
Really, I hate to say this is something bigger than it really is, but it really is. So, because Lumberton is not contiguous to us, meaning it doesn't touch us, the state requires us to have a shared service agreement to answer any calls that we go to that aren't, the house is actually on fire. So, in West Hampton, we use Mount Laurel almost every day for our warehouses, our schools, and stuff like that. We don't need to have this type of agreement with Mount Laurel because Mount Laurel touches us. It's called the Deployment Act. It's after September 11th, the governor put in this law to require us. So this is already being done every single day of the week, every minute of the year pretty much, across Burlington County. But because Lumberton and West Hampton physically don't touch, the state says that we need to have a shared service agreement in place to handle those calls that they're asking for us to help them. We are not replacing Lumberton Fire Department in any way, shape, or form. Lumberton Fire Department is still being dispatched to all the calls that we're going to. All it is we're going to, at the bypass to the warehouse and stuff like that, we're going to, more than one fire truck is needed to respond to God forbid there's an actual fire. So this isn't, we're not replacing Lumberton, we're not giving them money, they're not giving us money, there's no, any of that going on. We're just going to some of those higher hazard calls that, and we're using that bar on Willingboro for it in West Hampton. And for the bar and the truck, when our fire trucks, we had some really bad luck with fire trucks.
We certainly have.
Years ago, and I can tell you that Lumberton was the first one to say, we'll give you our fire truck to borrow. So we borrowed Lumberton's fire truck for probably 2-3 months, probably 4 or 5 years ago, when we had 0 fire protection. So essentially what we're doing is, we're going to answer a few calls in Lumberton, you know, at the higher hazards. In return, we're going to get our fire truck that's taking up a lot of space in our firehouse right now that isn't used often, and moving into their firehouse to keep it protected and such. So really, it's not, I don't say it's not what it's being sort of created to be, but it's really not. This is just everyday business that the state's telling us that we have to do a shared service for. That
Question.
doesn't make sense.
How did we then do 66 calls to Lumberton last year without a shared service agreement?
Because we were doing it without the shared service agreement, and the state has come in and said, so after the Deployment Act was created, they created fire coordinators in each county, and this is really down in the weeds. So the fire coordinator is required by law to review all of these things. So when the new year started, the fire coordinator was reviewing and said, hey, you really need to have a shared service agreement in place for this to cover both counties.
So this was new in 2023?
The shared service agreement, yes. But
No, the required shared service.
We've been doing without a shared service agreement. It never got picked up, I guess, when they were doing the reviews.
We were doing it not supposed
We've
to.
been doing it
Yeah.
without a shared service agreement. The fire coordinator was reviewing what we call grids and said, hey, this needs to be updated. Shared agreement in place. When that happened, I said, hey, we're storing the engine in Lumberton currently. Let's just make a part of the shared service agreement so everything is done correctly, God forbid anything happens.
We're
Now,
not gonna- Go ahead.
no, I didn't mean.
We're not going to go to Pemberton, we're not going to go to Rincokus Woods, we're not going to go to all those other places because they're not contiguous to us.
No, not unless there's a fire. So big difference, big difference. So if you were to call 911 and say your house is on fire, that triggers a different response and a different set of laws, let's say, for if you call 911 and say my fire alarm is going on. So when you say that when you call 911 and say your house is on fire, the Deployment Act sort of doesn't really apply because mutual aid is contiguous within the county. We all have a shared service agreement, each municipality with each other. So it doesn't really apply when somebody picks up the phone and says their house is on fire. It's different when you pick up the phone and say, my fire alarm is going on. If that makes sense. I know it's sort of,
To your knowledge, is Lumberton reducing their staffing, their paid staffing? To your knowledge, is Lumberton reducing their required manning?
no,
Does this resolution relieve the contiguous towns of Lumberton from responding?
no.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder why
We
Lumberton
have
said,
worked to reduce our call volume in other towns. We are working with Willingboro. We cut down our call volume by probably 3/4 going to Willingboro. Now, Holly Fire Department, we've cut our call volume to there by, I would say, 3/4 again, starting January 1st. So we are definitely looking to reduce the call volume, the unnecessary call volume, I should say. The call volume that is using and abusing us because of our staff. So we are looking to reduce that.
Does this resolution, in your estimation, increase the responses to Lumberton?
No. Not that we're going
Yes, sir.
It's nothing, like I said, we've been doing this unofficially
Absolutely.
probably through half of 2022. So it's not anything, it's not a new burden, it's what we've been doing.
Let me ask a question. So when we had their truck for 2 or 3 months, if something went wrong with it, do they pay for it or did we pay for it?
So we're all in the same JIP, so it's all covered under the same
All right, so it's not like we're paying for something that, so if they have the truck and something goes wrong, it's still covered under the same thing that it'd be covered with
Under
us?
their JIF though, not our JIF.
Right,
We're all
we're on the same jip.
Right. I'm just wondering why Lumberton thinks this is going to save them money.
I gotta ask,
I
like,
don't know if that's just the wording that went in because it's a shared service agreement and it's required, wordage, I don't know. That, I don't know.
And Mayor, because we don't have a resolution to pass, we might have to wait a meeting to pass it. We don't have a resolution. There is no, I don't see any resolution that says 3423. This is the one 052 from the Township of Lumberton.
I mean, if we can't pass it, there's nothing we can
We
do.
can table it till the next meeting.
Okay.
Do the motion.
Motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone satisfied with, did that help you guys out, that question, or did you want to, okay.
Just what, Councilman Bursley said about.
And I'm doing it right now.
Come up.
Talking into the microphone, just so it gets picked up in the minutes.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I'm
I was sitting here like, I'm in, what's going on?
Mr. Brown, 1 second. I motion to open the public comment, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
My question would be, are you looking to hire more workers for the shared service agreement? And would that be,
No, there's no need for additional tools before we get to the shared service, and no issue. So, and we're working with the budget process now for 2023 for additional staffing. But nothing
I
has.
know you are.
The Lumberton shared service agreement has no bearing on our staffing or our needs to hire more people or anything like that.
thank you.
Sure. Oh, the microphone. No, because what happens is, when they record it and they can't get it. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, ma'am.
Please state your name and address. Is it green? Is it green? No, there's not. Just press on the hold.
And it's not that it's that they're just recording you. Yep.
Okay. Kelly Ginsburg, 3 Dallas Farm Road. How is it determined which departments, and which townships answer which calls? So if Lumberton calls, why would we answer a Lumberton call? Or if West Hampton gets a call, and then Lumberton gets a call at the same time, or any of the shared service agreements that we have, or the towns, is there like some chain of command?
You can, or...
So each town, the chief essentially sets up, the order that people are dispatched for. So in the Grand Cocos Valley area, right, Mount Holly, West Hampton, Lumberton, Kingsport, East Hampton, all 5 fire departments work together. So in any of those 5 towns, if you're to pick up your phone and say your house is on fire, you're getting all 5 of those departments, and not all, throw up to that, is what it is. So then, if it's not your house is on fire and something else, so let's say West Hampton's on another call, West Hampton has decided that Mount Laurel comes, and that Mount Laurel Glenboro comes, and then, and Lumberton and Holly and East Hampton, all the towns in Glenboro County have essentially done the same thing. So each individual town decides which order, each fire department is responsible.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
So Craig, with this agreement, are we going to be obliged to always be the next person they call, or could they call Mount Holly instead of us, because they don't have a written agreement with Mount Holly?
They wouldn't get a perfect agreement with Mount Holly because they're contiguous.
So they're put up against each other.
There's no need for a shared service agreement. So everything that we just talked about, Mount Holly and Lumberton can do with no problem without a shared service agreement.
Okay. So they wouldn't necessarily always call us first. That's one of my big things. Thank you.
Yeah, they could be doing the same thing on the other side of town, closer to the Medford side, and asking Medford to come to that side.
Thank you.
No problem.
We're open for public comment again, so if anyone has a comment, now's the time.
That's the first or second public comment. Sorry, I don't have.
the second one. No, it's okay, it's the second one.
Oh, good, I got it. I don't even think I have to spell my name, I think you guys know it by heart. Kirsten Jones, 120 West Maple Tree Drive. So, I have some comments on the master plan revision. So I'm looking specifically at page 31. So I really appreciate the chart that was made and proposed. And I see that you guys want to propose the R5 district. I looked up all the numbers on the tax record. I see 404 lot 1 specifically is the one that I'm very concerned about. It is being proposed from industrial to residential, which is great. So can you please comment on how pages 36 and 37 relate to that, drawing the road across the residential property?
We can answer it after, right, this is comment, not question.
This isn't the second.
Yeah, but it's a comment, like, we can answer it afterwards,
After everyone's.
after everyone, yeah, at the end.
I'm sorry, I guess I missed the agenda. I saw that there were 2 public comments today on the agenda, and I didn't see the master plan listed, but I know from coming to meetings before, especially you guys remember, I brought my child.
No, you're fine, I'm just saying that we have to answer it after, we answer questions at the end.
Okay, so this is the first public comment, not
The second one, you're fine to make the comment.
Mayor, I think I understand. So this is not what was at the previous meeting was just a workshop to take.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Master plan and the amendments to the zoning.
I have more comments specifically on some of the pages, and I want to know the opinion, but when I looked online at the agenda today, it was very, very unclear that this was going to be covered, yet several meetings ago, it was very clear that this was a topic of consideration for community members. So if this isn't the appropriate forum, I just want to know, but I have some specific comments and questions on pages of the master plan.
So procedurally, this is just a general public comment for anyone to make any comments they want, whether about the master plan, something on the agenda, or any other concerns that they have that affect the community. It's not specific to the master plan. During public comment, it's an opportunity. The second one in the agenda. So that's what this is now. The second one, it's open public comment. So public comment,
Yes.
so public comment is for individuals to present comments. Any response that the committee has are generally to be done during their comments to council, which are at the end of the meeting. It's not designed as a back and forth commentary. So that's what I just wanted to clarify. And even Mayor Henling sometimes doesn't follow that
I
rule.
looked on the township's website. I saw nothing about master plan revision. Everyone knows I've been on all the boards. There's nothing on the township's website that says that you guys have 6 open periods for the public to comment. It's very unclear. I'm in marketing. All these people got elected. They know about marketing. It's not there, but I have some specific comments about different things, and I'm just wondering, like, how the public is actually supposed to comment to a plan when you don't even tell us we can comment. I came a couple weeks ago, again, I heard it. Did you guys publish the notes? Did you publish the agenda that says that you're commenting about the master plan? Did you put a post out? Did you do nothing? So I appreciate, you guys are all looking at me like I'm crazy.
No.
But seriously, like, there is nothing anywhere in the township that says that these are the few weeks where community members can comment on the master plan revisions. It's not being publicized anywhere. That's actually very concerning to me as a community member. And a community member that raised more money than the township did to even redo this master plan. But I have some specific questions because I'm seeing some information which looks fantastic. And I really like it and appreciate it. But then I see some big holes because I started looking up some of these specific tax records.
I can't even find them on the tax records of the township. And you guys are saying like, these things are in the plan, and then I go and use the public available tools and I can't find a thing about it. So like, where is block 403 lot 19? I think it's, yeah, block 403 lot 19. If you type that into the township tax record, nothing comes up. But that's in this plan. It's a little concerning.
Bob, I remember the last meeting, and I know what you're talking about. We were told that the planner would be here for the next 3 meetings, and that we would have an open time during the next 3 meetings for people to come and ask their questions. Is the planner here tonight?
The planner's not here, and that might have been my misunderstanding. I thought the planner would be available for introduction of the zoning amendments, which will take place at the next meeting, and will also be will be here at the adoption and public hearing on it, which would be the first meeting in March. Generally speaking, when a ordinance is introduced, there is not a public discussion upon introduction. The public hearing takes place upon adoption. But in addition to the planner being present at the public hearing on adoption, the mayor requested, and the committee people agreed, for him to be present at the meeting where it's going to be introduced as well.
You guys, I was here 2 meetings ago, and you will remember, I brought my grade school child to the meeting. He sat here and did his homework. My husband and I both spoke. You said that there was public comment for the next, it was either 4 or 6 meetings.
Sure.
Yet, those notes have not been publicized on the township website.
So, and that was, if I can address that. At the beginning of the meeting, Committeewoman Berkeley reiterated comment that I had heard earlier when the minutes were being prepared. Because of how the discussion went about during the workshop and during public comment, where people weren't coming to the microphone, there was actually very good and fruitful, I thought.
I came to the microphone.
Okay, so a lot of those were not picked up in the audio.
That's why we just
So
said
the individual comments. However, if
He did his homework.
can I finish speaking, please?
Yes.
All right, thank you. When I would, working with Councilman Carr and the planner on drafting the amendments to the zoning, everything that was, comments were made, I took notes and brought them back to the planner in order to draft the actual amendments to the zoning ordinance, taking in consideration the comments that were made, which my understanding focused primarily on Main Street and Spring. Rancocas Village.
I've never met before in Rancocas Village that expressed a lot of concern and a lot of great comments. So,
And
never
those-
once during that meeting did anyone say that their comments would be neglected. So, if their comments didn't matter, which I don't think you're saying
But,
that.
no,
you're just
I'm
saying
not.
They weren't picked up on microphones. But if their comments didn't matter, because they brought up very, very valid points because they were addressed in this little document. I appreciate this document. It addresses the most major concern in my mind. Again, if I was a surgeon, I would address the major concern. You gotta stop the bleeding at some point. But no one in that meeting ever said to those people that that didn't count. And you said that there were only so many meetings that we could comment, and there hasn't been a single thing posted to residents that these are the timeframes when you can comment and when it's done. Because in my mind, it's done in like 3 meetings, and it's not even clear. Like, there aren't any notes. There's nothing being published on the township website. I looked at the meeting agenda, and there's nothing out there. Mayor Conley, I know you're looking at me like...
No, I'm listening to what you're saying. I mean, some of it, I mean, honestly, I agree. So I know that, give me one moment. So I think that what they're saying is that going forward, we have a schedule which we have to adhere to, right? And I kind of think that they were open about expressing that. Like at the meeting, I think that somebody, you gotta give me one moment, man. So I think that Bob was just saying like, that, you know, this is a schedule, this is how it gets indoctored, right? Like, it's a certain schedule that has to be followed, and we're kind of following that schedule. Now, honestly, during this portion, you're allowed to make a comment about the roof, anything, the sky, anything you want. So that's why I'm letting you say whatever you would like to say, but, ma'am, give me 1 second. But at the same time, you know, I think that we're doing as we're supposed to do with the master plan. We're not going to try to have a meeting when no one's here. That's not what we've tried to do the whole time. We want to make sure we give you guys enough time to do your research as well and to be able to indoctrinate that. And I think that Bob was saying that. So what happened was we had open discussion, which we wanted. But when they when they tried to post it with the recording, it didn't pick up everyone. So even that's why today, before we knew any of this, and I was like, wait a minute, no, you got to talk to so that's why I think that he's saying that as a backup, he made notes. But this is a process that isn't even completed yet for us to say. Like, they're still taking into account the things we talked about in the meeting beforehand, if I'm not mistaken, Bob. Yes.
I would add, we had the public, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Now,
When I was at that meeting, you specifically laid out dates that the public could comment, and none of those dates have made the agenda recaps or note recaps in the township committee meeting notes. So, what are the dates for the public to comment? Because when
Bob,
I
you
was
said the dates?
here, Mr. Guerrero was here, this gentleman, and I don't know his name.
Bob Thorpe.
He was here, you guys laid out dates.
Yeah. So,
I'm asking for transparency. If something didn't go right, just say it didn't go right, and then make it right.
so if I may add, we had the workshop on the master plan review where you could have made some substantive comments and asked questions regarding the master plan review. The solicitor put forward our tentative plan on introducing this and the comments that could be made upon introduction. I clearly remember your comments from the workshop, and I remember a lot of other people's. I also solicited more substantive input on the plan and people's thoughts.
In this meeting,
In the workshop.
In this workshop.
The one you attended, ma'am.
so we were here, what meeting? I'm very confused, because I was here 2 weeks ago at a township committee, not 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Ago at a township committee meeting. If that was the workshop,
Yes.
you mean 30 minutes?
Yes.
Oh. Yes, ma'am.
It
I was,
wasn't advertised anywhere.
The work-
About the township. I mean,
you were there.
no, I was here,
Almost
but
everyone.
again, I have not seen, no offense,
None taken.
that happened a month ago, and I haven't seen a summary of those notes posted on the township's website or in the agenda.
Do we summarize the workshops?
So if I may, you just voted on all 4 sets of minutes since December, so they wouldn't be published just yet. They have to be voted on before they are published. So they will be published tomorrow, so that includes the notes of that workshop.
So we just voted on those
That's
minutes.
my issue. Honestly, that is the root of my issue. I'm sorry.
So wait a minute, didn't we, now if I'm
That is
mistaken,
the root of my issue.
one moment, didn't we had that, hold on one second, I'm sorry, ma'am. We had those minutes, and we tabled them because they were missing something, and that's why we just voted.
Minutes, right.
That's why we just voted on every minute we've done for the whole year today. So it'll be on it couldn't be published until we voted on it, and we just voted on it today, so it'll be published tomorrow. So it was tabled in the last meeting.
So again, how can my neighbors come and voice comment? No offense.
Not taking it.
I think I'm like a really powerful person, to be honest. Maybe I'm the mayor of my little street. I'm not the mayor.
Believe me, it's overrated.
I'm not, but you know.
Believe me.
like, I am one person, and my voice isn't the only voice that matters. I'd like to think my voice matters, but to be honest, it really doesn't. I need my neighbors and the community to come together. And the fact that it's been a month, over a month, but it's been a month, meeting notes are not there, This information isn't there, and to be honest, time is running out.
Well, it's funny because other people wanted us to get it done quicker than the time we could wait. So I mean, it's 6 and 1 half dozen the other. But what I'm stating is that it's going to be posted tomorrow because we just voted on it today. So at that point, your neighbors and whoever else feels welcome, because I think that the doors are welcome to everyone, every resident to come in here, can come in and voice their concerns. What's the date that Bob just gave
Yeah,
us?
so,
It's the next meeting. We just got,
21st.
we have a draft. We're going to go over it with the solicitor and Mr. Chris Dockney, and we're going to have a draft put forward on the 21st of February.
So should I invite as many people as I know?
As many as the place can hold.
Absolutely.
So, I would like to have you guys look at page 31, lot 404, lot 1. I appreciate the rezoning. Please advise how that relates to
36 and 37.
36 and 37. I would like to know how that works, and I'd also like to know why I cannot find on the tax record block 403, lot 19, and what property that is referring to the master plan revision, because I can't find it on West Hampton website's tax record.
Christina, if a property has a pilot agreement, which is payment in lieu of taxes, they're not going to be on the tax rolls. So they won't be on the website as taxes.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
And there's quite just several that are paying in lieu of taxes, so we can't charge them taxes even though they pay a reduced amount. So, and I have the same thing. I was trying to look up all the warehouses, and I thought, we've got a lot more warehouses than this, but it's because of the pilot.
But, so we're saying 221, 7 o'clock.
Which one? What page?
No, I'm just saying, you guys are saying now that is the meeting where residents really should voice their opinion?
February
Because it's
21st.
not being made very clear.
February 21st, we look forward to introducing the ordinance for the rezone.
Because
So-
I think residents appreciate what you're doing. We don't like the lack of transparency.
so if I can just make sure we're absolutely clear, that on the 21st, the ordinance will be introduced. And there'll be 2 public comments on that agenda. The public comment on items that are on the agenda, which you'll be able to comment on the ordinance at that time. There will not be a public hearing on the ordinance on the 21st. There will also be the public comment section, the open public comment section, where you can make any comment you want.
And that's what I asked about this meeting, and I'm hoping that this is the right second public comment, because I actually asked what was the first public comment on.
Okay.
I saw that the agenda was like roll call, so I'm not going to object to roll call. I mean, I think.
I wouldn't either.
Right?
But when, I don't understand, because I was
But you
under,
guys told us there were.
I was under
Chris-
the impression that we would have workshops
Yes.
for the public, not just us to make a comment, but to get answers.
That's
And for us to be able to ask questions and get answers from the planner. Because what I was going to say later, I'll say now, because it will agree with you. When this came about, when I was on the Land Development Board, the Land Development Board said, we're not going to go to the Township Committee at the beginning because we will do our thing, and then we will go to the Township Committee, and they will be able to revise it and look at it and have meetings and talk about it. So we're not going to, they didn't come to us in the beginning and say, what do you want? We were told, no, we're not going to tell you in the beginning because you're going to have a chance to revise it after it's done. At the last township, at the last Land Development Board meeting, I don't know if you listened to it, I did very intently. Our planner said, we have lots of comments and suggestions to change. We're not going to actually put that in the master plan. We'll just know later to kind of make ordinances that go along with that. And to me, that's not what we were told. We were told we, as a body of 5, could make suggestions based on the residents and we could actually put changes in the master plan to make sure that the ordinances will be done to go along with it. And now I'm told, we're basically here to rubber stamp it.
Well,
Can we get
Odie,
this
didn't you,
before or after?
Odie, didn't you guys meet with Chris about the changes? Or you're going to meet with Chris about the information that you took from the public, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, this is the draft being put forward to the committee where they can review and make substantive changes.
That's one
Let's
person.
put forward a draft, and I appreciate the draft. It's actually very, very good.
Thanks.
My issue is there's this miscommunication between, I feel like there's a miscommunication between the land board and the township, and unfortunately, I'm standing here in front of you, I'm going to say more in front of the township, on how the process will work and how you will allow the public to communicate. I have opinions. My opinions are my own. They don't represent anybody else. And my job is not to rally the township. Maybe I did in some other instances that we're passionate about. But I can tell you that there is zero awareness that this is there. I've walked around, I've talked to my neighbors, I've done whatever. Whatever. I could care less if no one wants to communicate, but nowhere have I seen the township say, public, you can communicate on X, Y, and Z day, and if you don't, screw you.
Did we do that for the first one, though?
No, it's not out there.
No. I'm asking, did we do that for the 30-minute thing we did? Did we send?
That was the last
You
day.
did, you did. I'm 100%.
All right.
You said it on the last one, it was that there was a 30-minute, it was a master plan review. I came to that meeting. You communicated that there were, it was either 4 or 6 more meetings where the town can communicate. None of that has been captured in any notes or delivered. So that one meeting.
But you remember, we just said that it hasn't been captured in any notes because we just voted on it tonight.
Right, but now do you understand as a resident why I'm like, okay, but, so do we lose those opportunities because you didn't?
No, I'm saying that it's going to be posted tomorrow because we just voted on those minutes tonight.
But there was a meeting in between.
But it got tabled at that, it got
It
tabled.
wasn't.
There was not.
It was the last meeting, because the meeting before.
So the meeting before that got tabled, and then there was a reorganization meeting.
But like, it's that doesn't give me.
So that's not being transparent, that's just the process. We wish we had more weeks in the month, but we only got 2 Tuesdays.
Right, but the agenda is posted typically after like residents tooth and nail.
Right.
Ask repeatedly to get the agendas out, and this week it was actually communicated early. Normally, an agenda for today's meeting would be distributed tomorrow. You guys are talking about the master plan revision. You don't link that it's
No.
on the land board page.
Hey, if I can just interrupt, and that's just factually inaccurate, that the agenda for a Tuesday meeting is almost always, barring some illness or issue, is posted on the Friday prior to the Tuesday's meeting for the public to review. And Gary reviews it diligently every meeting and has an opportunity, and I'm sure he would contact the township administrator and the mayor if it wasn't posted. So saying that the agenda, saying that the agenda is posted the day after the meeting is just,
Not day after.
that's what you said though, so that's why,
Sorry, if I said day after, I meant day before.
But that's unfortunately, and Mr. Thorpe has raised this concern several times, but the Land Development Board has been notoriously known to do that. Post it the day before or change the agendas.
So
Yeah.
I apologize, because I will admit the land board meetings are posted the day before.
And Kristen, they're the day before, because I'm the one who posted on West Hampton 08060. But that's me.
But then you're not a.
But I'm saying that's why it might come out for me on
You're
Saturday.
not a communication representative of the town.
But it is on the website on Friday by 4 o'clock.
But Nancy, I appreciate you posting it, but you're not a communications representative for the township. So you shouldn't be the one, to be honest.
But it is there on
The township
Friday by
doesn't-
4
But
o'clock.
the township doesn't even post it. That's what's kind of,
So-
no, Ms. Berkeley posts it.
She posted on the website 08060.
She, as a
Resident.
Resident,
resident.
right.
She's not a
But on the township website, it's on there on Fridays.
representative for the town.
No, I understand, but on the website, it's, on the township website, it's there on Friday.
Yes,
Township,
it is
the
absolutely there
township
every
website posts it, but nothing else on the township does.
So Mayor, there is a rule of the committee that, public comments are generally limited to 3 minutes, which we've very much gone over on that.
Did you have any more notes, though?
So these are my notes,
So what I,
About the-
my frustration.
if you did have substantive notes regarding, the master plan and what you would want to see in the zoning ordinance, you can email those to the township administrator, who will make sure that, Mr. Carr, myself,
And I appreciate it.
and that's, anyone can email any written comments they want on the master plan and zoning, ordinance to provide some feedback on those.
I appreciate you allowing me to go over time.
Ah.
And again, I appreciate that you guys have done this. I just think communication can be tightened up a little more.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob and Wendy, I really would like to request, that the others would have to agree, that public comment just means, again, that they can get comments, and it's limited, and they can't get answers. I would like our planner to be here, because I had expected him to be here tonight, to give answers, and I would like it to be a workshop, even if it's before the meeting begins, from 7 to 7:30, so that people can come and not just go on and on about things, but ask specific questions, and they can get answers. And the last time, the public asked a lot of questions, but we were not given the opportunity to ask questions, and I would have liked to have the answers from the planner, but he wasn't here last time. So I think only to be fair to the public, because they're coming out. Usually it's Gary, and before that, it was just Gary and me. We've got public here, they want to be here, they want to learn, they want to be a part of West Hampton. And I think we need to respect that, and somehow have, even though it's going to be an ordinance that's introduced, still have a workshop where something like this can be presented with the planner here.
So I think in all fairness, we, like even, it's very, the time limit's 3 minutes. I don't think that anybody can ever say that I kept them off over 3 minutes. I pretty much let people say what they need to say, because it's just so few people. We want to make sure that you feel confident in being able to express what you need, right? So even if we're doing something on the 21st, I think it puts the residents in a different manner if we try to limit it to a certain time frame. But were they able to come up and ask questions, even when we open it to the public, and the planner is here to be able to ask those questions, I think pretty much accomplishes a lot of what we're trying to do, instead of, because in actuality, we probably just spent 30 minutes just on these two and it would be over, versus having the person here to be able to have it, and if everybody wants to make a comment, then they make a comment, right? And then it tends to, right, without labeling it as like, we're gonna do a workshop on. Listen, no one's ever been told that they can't make a comment on, we've heard the greatest comments that have done things in this township that you wouldn't believe, as far as making adjustments and changing things, right? Or things that make sense. I think that even the master plan itself was something that we've been talking about for months and months on end, to try to figure out how we were going to do it, because originally the master plan was $150,000, I believe, of which we did not have.
Forget how much it was.
Right. So we found a way to be able to do that and not burden the taxpayers with that burden. So, and we're always trying to work. We don't want to make it seem like we're trying to get out of having comments about the master plan. Like, again, I'll say this for the 260th time. We all live here too. So it's not like it's us against anyone, because I understand, although I may not make a comment or I may not be as boisterous, I understand that there's things that we don't want. Listen, we got a warehouse. I live in Spring Meadows. There's a huge warehouse right over there. I didn't vote for it. I wasn't even here to vote for it. I didn't have a master plan. I didn't have any of these things that we're doing right now to try to be able to be helpful to the other residents that we push forward, right? It's just something that, unfortunately, I guess we had to accept. I don't know. But so we're trying to do better because we know better. But we're not trying to alleviate anything or not trying to be transparent. we're telling you what we know and what we're getting and trying to honor the stakes that are put in front of us. So I'm sorry, my man in Eagle Green.
Gil Bean, Scott, 3,000 Farm Road. So back to before the master plan, we're talking about EMS and shared services. I just want to make sure that we, West Hampton, will get first call before Lumberton and other townships.
Absolutely.
That's still, okay. And then going to the master plan, there's been rumors about the Nelson Quebec property being rezoned. If that's the case, what is it being rezoned for, or what are the plans? Because these are rumors that we're hearing, but nobody knows anything. And then as far as the agenda, I mean, I only started coming recently. I'm very busy with work, but because I'm very concerned living on Valley Farm about the trucking lot that was spoken at the last meeting that I was at here. And it was not in the agenda this evening. My wife was brought up the agenda, and there's nothing spoken about that. So I guess the people, it's kind of deceiving for the people, I think, that, we spoke about this last meeting, but it wasn't on this agenda, so I don't know.
The trucking lot that we're talking about in the land development?
Land development?
Yeah, it's the land development.
Next meeting?
It's tabled to the next meeting. We didn't have
On the land
we only had 6 people instead of 7 people. The alternate was off and other person's out there. Yeah, we weren't going to talk about it here. It's going to be talked about the land development.
I was my understanding they were voting on that March 1st, is that correct?
March 1st, the land development meeting. It's not
That
the,
doesn't give much opportunity for people to voice their opinions, and if you're saying that they didn't hear a lot of the comments, or a lot of comments weren't recorded, shouldn't they have, or offer another meeting for people?
no. What I'm saying is that the land development meeting is the meeting that they're not addressing, they're going to be addressing that lot. Right? And those people are going to present, their company's going to present on why they should have it, and they'll have it open for, they always open it up for public comment, but that hasn't happened yet. Like, part of it has happened, the other part still needs to happen. It was supposed to happen this month, but it got tabled this month into next month. So it has nothing to do with the township at this moment.
Postponing that further date.
Because we didn't have enough people, they didn't want to come in front of 6 people, they wanted to come in front of 7. And we had 6 people there at the land development meeting, so that's why. Yeah.
So now you're shortening up that span for people to voice their opinions, is what I'm saying.
No, we're giving it another month, it's going to go in March.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That was it. That was my misunderstanding.
That's all right, man.
I appreciate it.
With the green, you get away with a lot.
The rezoning of the Nelson Quebec property is something that we are concerned about, living across the street, and, we're hearing.
And I can promise you that it'll be.
We talked about that at the workshop. And if that is indeed a
But what are
zone,
they
as
actually doing?
Ms. Berkeley said,
Right.
what did you say it was zoned, Ms.?
It was zoned like residential, it's like a little corner.
OR3, which allows small warehouses.
Right.
So,
Wanted it to be residential, not the condominiums and apartments, but residential,
Right.
single family.
I don't believe that property was recommended for rezoning, and if it is
No, it wasn't
OR3,
recommended for
yeah, and if it is OR3 as indicated, this rezoning would make any warehouse on that, correction, it would not allow an applicant to have a warehouse by right.
Okay.
I thought OR3 allowed 40,000 square feet, whatever, 400 square feet, 4,000, whatever it is, square feet warehouses.
I don't have the paperwork in front of me, the plan, but I
400,000
think
square feet.
at that meeting, at that meeting, I did have the paperwork in front of me, and to the best of my recollection, that's what it was. So if it was OR3, no warehouse would be allowed by right, by application.
I recognize you guys. You guys are the ones that, and like, you remember you were upset about the guy sitting in the corner about, you just bought it, was him.
Well, whatever's currently allowed in OR3, research, build, medical campuses, things of that nature.
But that's something that you guys took down in your notes that you're bringing back to Chris, if I'm not mistaken, because that was like a really hot point about it not being big enough and the homes being, it's not being a good fit, right? Yeah, we saw, yes. Yes, that's what I was just saying, I was pointing back there, because you were telling us you just bought in West Hampton or something of that nature, and yeah.
Yeah, so what I said in response to that is that it wasn't addressed in the master plan, but it is something that we could look at. And generally what's done is if a property like that is rezoned, then it would be rezoned to the contiguous zoning. So whatever the neighboring properties are zoned is usually how it's rezoned. So, that is something that I took notes on. And say Nelson Gravette property, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
But, Wendy explained that it was that property that we're talking about. Yep. Right off of Main. Correct. All right. So yes, that is something that I did the next day bring back to the planner to look at, to include in the zoning amendments.
Okay.
So
And that will be discussed.
that'll be discussed at the next meeting. That's what will be introduced, and it'll be on the 21st.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, have a good evening.
The battery can't be good, I don't think.
I know, man, I tell you, for a year and a half, man, I've been,
Maybe we should pass around the hat.
oh, you guys really,
I know you get a little extra tea from that, a little extra from the barbecue. We can get a little, you know what I mean? Hold on, I want to make sure that they're recording what you say so we can make sure we put it in the comments. Give me one sec.
I know it's not a Chief game, you know.
You got the magic hands.
That's right. Yeah. Again,
Yes.
I sure hope so. I want to review those notes. I encourage all of us to review them. Again, Terrence Brown, I have a couple questions, comments. Number one is could we get an update from the solicitor on the master plan? Because at that meeting, he did say he would get back to us on some of those questions. He's supposed to be reporting back. So, like I said, tonight is the follow-up meeting, even though you haven't voted on the previous meeting with the workshop. Do you have any update for those questions from the public? I would like that right there to be, on the agenda. If you're going to tell us you're going to bring us something back, you got to bring us something back, right?
21st.
Well, he didn't say to us. To me, I thought it was in the next meeting. I've been coming for the last two meetings looking for his comment because he wrote them down.
They've had conversations with Chris, and they're working on the things they need to work on, but it's not a lot of times that we have to push like the meetings, like the minutes back. So all those things kind of throw things off as far as, what we're going to discuss and what we can know. But I think we've always had the 21st penciled as the next time we're going to talk about it.
I mean, I
I'm
agree.
not mistaken. We haven't strayed from that at all. It's always been the 21st.
Okay.
Now, however you came up to think it was something different,
Well, he didn't say 21st. My thing is, if you're not going to do it the next meeting, at least make the public aware, like, hey, we're not going to be talking about this meeting, we're going to be talking about the 21st. I mean, if that would have been said, I think it would kind of, help everybody understand a little bit. Like I said, I've been coming.
you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, right? Like, this is the part where you've been coming, like,
Yeah, but-
we take the information that you give, so we also don't want to deter people from coming, right? If you want to come and talk about something, ma'am, you said as much as you wanted to say, right? Like, we're going to let you, yes, we're going to let you talk. I'm not going to hit you on your 3 minutes, you're good. So what I'm saying is that just because it's not on the agenda, there isn't a part of the agenda that says, there's a part of the meeting that says, do you have any public comments? Right? And it's not on the agenda, but if you have public comments that you want to go on the record and let the public know, this is the 100% the perfect forum to do so. So just because it's not on the agenda, I don't want that to make anyone think that they can't make comments.
See, the thing that's frustrating about the process is that the township committee has an option to comment. So people like me, when you tell me you're going to bring something back, I'm coming for that comment and you bringing it back. Because as you know, several questions you have not answered that I've asked.
Who, me?
Yeah, the whole township committee. I mean, I didn't know Mr. Carter could speak until, the election.
He talks pretty good.
He talked now, but he never talked before. And, so it's like, you answered all of the questions. So I thought that the mayor had to answer all the questions. And when you told us that, hey, some questions you're not going to answer, it's up to you guys' discretion. So when someone says that they're going to bring something back, I want to, I'm coming to look at that. The only way I'm thinking like, hey, I'm going to get my answer. I'm going to get some type of piece of information about the township. So, and to follow up off of that, it's like, there was a situation that happened last year, I guess with an employee, and somebody in the comment, they said, the basic comment was like, what are you basically doing to help protect the township employees? They was like, if you have to file a complaint, the person who you file a complaint, well, if it's the person who will file a complaint, well, let's take the complaint. And so that followed off of the questions like, how do you have a person that's doing oversight and ruling at the same time? And I asked the question, and he said, well, we're going to look into it. I'm like, how have you guys looked into, having, some type of form? I know you said something about budgetary issues, couldn't, allow, for hiring different people, additional staff people. But that's a concern. I mean, I've heard from, numerous employees that, they have issues in the township. And I know you know them just like I know them. But like, what is the township committee, doing like that for morale within the township? If you got dysfunction, that's why you're not, your recruitment is low and stuff like that. People don't want to work when they already know everything that's going on in the township. So like, what is the township committee doing to like repair that, create synergy? Maybe have some open lunch tables where employees can come and voice this to you guys. I mean, it's shocking to me as a resident, a taxpayer, like, seeing like, disarray. And I just want to know, like, if you guys have the power because you're the township committee, elected ones, to, help govern the township. But if people are having issues, what are you guys doing to help, solve them?
What issues are we talking about?
I mean, just issues with this of the township. People feel like they don't want to work.
Who? Do we have call-out problems? No. Do we have people not coming in because they're sick?
No.
Do we have lateness problems?
No.
What issues?
People quitting.
People retiring.
People retiring, quitting.
Listen, I got my fingers crossed, and I'm praying every day that I make it to retirement. And I hope that we celebrate it and dance in the streets. But how do you stop people from retiring? It's a glorious time. Don't you want to retire?
Oh, I want to retire.
So what's the issue with retiring? I can't wait.
All right. Well, you don't think there's an issue?
I just asked the administrator. She said there's no issue. Do you guys got issues? You guys work here.
You know there's an issue? We don't record.
Yeah.
Okay.
They was just told that there's no issue.
There's no issue. You said yes, no issue?
We just asked it.
I'm sorry, I can't ask the question.
Right. I just asked the administrator. That's the person who runs the building. Right? We said, is there any latencies? Is there any call-outs?
Not latencies. Issues with the morale of the township.
I mean,
Do people feel like they want to work? I'm sorry, now people came to you and said that there are issues inside the township where they're afraid of their job, or being told they can't speak to certain people, can't answer questions. Have any of that ever came up in your sight? This is me.
to me personally, I don't know that you got to be more direct with your question. And we can't talk about a specific employee. But as far as when we're talking about work, I do have people who report to me at work. So I would consider myself a leader at my job. And as a leader, one, I don't talk about other team members and what they do to other team members. I don't discuss outside work business with people who don't have control of the situation. And last and not least, if there's an issue, then we find a way to uncover it and fix it. And I think that if we've ever had an issue, we've been lucky enough. Let me just, because I know that you've been lived in town for a while, but we've been lucky enough to have people who worked here for 30 years, 35 years, year after year. We've had one administrator for a long time, then we had some administrators where they were kind of short stints. Right now, I think we have an administrator. How long have you been here, Wendy? 3 years, right? So we have had some turnover, but a lot of the turnover is if someone's worked at a job for 30, 35 years, they're bound to retire at some point, right? And I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but to my understanding, there's been no one let go. And even in times when we had COVID, when we had 2008, I wasn't even here in 2008, so I'm not going to take credit for none of it. We weren't laying people off. So I don't understand, like, we have a nice synergy. To answer your question, I know that they had a team building training one day when the building was closed, so they all could work together and team build. So there's been some things put in place that they've done, but to my understanding, I came to the building last week. I probably try to come to the building at least once a week, once every other week, and spend time throughout the building. In fact, I was with down here with the court people the other day because they wanted me to stop by, and everybody seemed fine. Nobody pulled me to the side out of that group of people and said they had an issue. When I went upstairs, I think I ran past Sam, I ran past Emily, because Wendy and Odie, who barely talks, but he found a way to say this, that all I do is wear sweatpants when I'm not dressed up for work. So I told them, I said, don't tell them that I came in here and had sweatpants on. So, I mean, if someone had a problem, that day Wendy wasn't here. If somebody had a problem, they would have pulled me to the side and said something, I would assume. And I talked to Wendy about her staff all the time. When I met with her, that's what we talked about, the staff and what was going on. But I think that this building has been pretty productive in what we've done as far as when we replaced some of the people who have retired. We did some shared service agreements. We did this, some of this money that we cut enabled us to get the master plan that you're asking about today. I mean, we could do 150.
I mean, the thing is, we gotta look at the future, the West Hampton, you got new housing developments coming up. How is this community look? I've been in communities and worked in communities where gentrification happened and moved people out. So I know how these things work, but the thing that, I just want to kind of point out is like, hey, maybe some, team building things within the township.
They just did that. They did Christmas in July, right, or something like that. They did that. But you know where that came from? Jamie Mungo. She said, why don't we do some team building activities? So as far as our involvement and what we do and what we try to be productive, and again, I'll say this for the 261st time, we're residents just like you. So we want everything to be, listen, Odie, what did you do? Maybe he don't talk a lot, but he did that veterans parking spot out there and got us 30 veterans credits when we had none for the time that West Hampton's been here. None. That the veterans credit is so the veterans are able to park in the parking spot to get money off of Wendy. It's honoring our veterans for what we've done. And in fact, when I met with Wendy, we met about me, Wendy, and the gentleman that does work for the unions, was about fixing the VFW building. Because if anybody in here has walked in there, I know if you walk through there, it is horrendous that the veterans have to live like that. They have to have a building like that. So that's how I spend my time. I spent my time on a Friday doing that, trying to figure out a way for us to get some of that work done and for it to not cost the township any real money. So when I talk about the cohesiveness of this township, that's what it was about. And we do listen to our residents. Like, I hate to bring it up, I won't bring up a number, I promise. But when I first got elected, the basketball courts was where the resident came in here every day, just like you, to complain about that when people ride through town, it's an eyesore. We don't own the basketball courts, the school does, but we still found a way to fix it. So I think that when we talk about the things that we've done as a committee that we put on record, we've done things to try to make this place better. Some things that people have never done, and some things that we've learned from the mistakes of the people of the past. But I can promise you that we continue to try to do the best that we can. And listen, are we going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But anybody else who wants to come up here and help us, you're not going to be perfect either. We're all trying to do the best that we can.
I'm not saying that.
Nah, you're good, Mr. Brown.
There are certain things that you can do that can help continue to build like the township, especially without, and of course, I know you have a job, and in your job, you want your environment to be great and conducive.
My environment's great.
In this environment, there are some things, some oversight that needs to happen. When you got one person, and, that can basically run in the township and being able to be the HR manager, and the guy pointed out, I think that is a concern. And when I brought it up to you at that time, you said, well, we don't have you said something about the finance, you don't have the funds or something else to hire another employee or whatever.
But we have a labor attorney.
It wasn't a labor attorney when we had this.
No, but we have a labor attorney. We have a labor attorney. We have an attorney there. We have 3 people that work in the building. I don't understand where the comments coming from, because we have.
It was about the situation. If you go back and look at the notes, it was y'all look closing and going to an executive session after. But one of the public concerns, and me as a citizen that came in on the tail end of it, I was concerned, and hey, how can you have a person holding authority and there's nobody to check this person in authority?
The problem is, Mr. Brown, is I think that me and you talked before, right? And I'm going to make sure I say this on record. The concerns you're talking about ain't even the real concern. Now, that's a fact.
It's a community concern.
Right, the community should be, listen,
Program employees, they
Okay.
tend not to, work. And you can count that out, because that's kind of the.
I understand what you're saying, but you missed your point.
Concern we're referring to speaking about
Right.
specific personnel matter that shouldn't be discussed without that person
Being rice notice.
being provided a rice notice or being discussed in closed.
I'm not discussing the person, I'm discussing.
I know.
The process,
Right.
the process.
The process is, we feel pretty good about it.
I mean, don't get angry, I'm just.
I'm not angry at all. I'm just trying to save us all some money.
Save us all some money. You got people that not going to, it's hard. Where's the check and balance? That's what you got to go for.
What checks and balances are we missing?
You obviously know what they are. Thank you so much.
You know what, I gotta be over there one day, I don't know how that thing works now.
Number 200 Bridge Street. Hey, basically, I'm concerned about our open space and the lack of open space conservation in West Hampton. I live in the village, obviously, and like my neighbor Gil said, the Gravatt Farm, I think, is really important. I think it's important historically. It has historic significance. The Gravatt family had been there for a very long time, 150 years on that property. Mr. and Mrs. Gravatt are gone now, and I am concerned that that property is going to be developed, and we're just going to lose that piece of history. Just like the Asher Woolman House across the street, which is now in ruins, that is historically significant, and it needs to be preserved. We lost the House of Prayer to this new development. You guys know how old that building was? 1790, making it the second oldest building in the area, besides the Lundy House in 1730, the back section of it. That building, there was nothing wrong with it. It was knocked down. And that's really a shame. We're paying an open space tax in this township, correct? For open space, historic preservation, and recreation.
As far as I understand it, the vast majority of that tax is going towards recreation and nothing else. And we are destroying our history, we're knocking down these historically significant buildings. These things don't come back. The Gravatt Farm, I think, is really important to preserve. Just like the Asher Woolman House, I understand the Asher Woolman building is in ruins. Somebody owns it, and I'm sure that person doesn't care about it. But in a perfect world, that would be preserved through some sort of preservation effort, whether it be through the township or the state of New Jersey. But the Woolman family, the Woolman name was one of the biggest names in West Hampton. My house, 1842, is a Woolman house. Probably 7 to 10 of the houses in Grand Copse Village are Woolman houses. It's just a shame to see these buildings lost. So I'm asking West Hampton to take that more seriously. Open space conservation, these things don't come back. Historic preservation, they don't come back. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Some people care about that.
Winstead. Comment one, do you know, are you aware, is there an issue with the vendor E-Code 360? Because the disposition list has not been updated on the website. I did come to the township building on the 31st to ask for it in person, and the clerks just were not aware of a disposition list. That should be maintained at least in hard copy, but definitely an e-copy. The reason I'm also asking if there's an issue with the vendor is that, as you know, on January the 1st,
The no-knock ordinance went into effect. That's enumerated, and it's specified 203-12.
12.
It's not here.
I think after ordinance is passed, we have to codify it with E-Code 360, is that correct? Once a year, okay. I'm not sure what the timeline looks like on that.
Yeah, barring that, it has to be, that ordinance has to be somehow otherwise published, and statute says legal paper of record. Was that done?
Every ordinance is published with the legal paper of record.
All right. I do want to see if maybe we'd be willing to workshop 203-3, the solicitation ordinance. The reason being is I think it probably could stand a little bit of modernization, the language of that specific ordinance. I looked at the solicitor registration form. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. It's a PDF image, and that form is actually incongruent with the language of the ordinance. And my understanding is the ordinance would control it. And the reason why I say that we need to revisit this and possibly take a look at it is that the ordinance specifies a deposit of $5. The form specifies $50. It's written on the form. I mean, I can show you the image. I brought it up. So there's a problem. So I think we should probably workshop that entire section of the code to look through, right? That's just a suggestion I have. Craig talked about 911. That was really important, right? Being able to call 911 and get assistance. I went to the Burlington County Commissioners meeting on the 25th. There weren't too many people there, unfortunately. I think the weather kind of kept people away. The reason I bring up 911 is that a longtime county employee by the name of Captain John Luca, I don't know if you know him, he retired after 43 years of service. I think it would have been really just something very nice for our township to have sent over something to honor his service. He had quite a bit to do with the 911 system, and he left it in pretty good shape. So maybe you guys can think about passing a resolution commemorating his 43 years of government service. And maybe you can ask the commissioners if there's any other milestones coming up that we can notice ahead of time so we can appropriately convey our appreciation and acknowledgement of such milestones by the county employees that serve us here as well. It's just a suggestion I have on that. The way that it works over there, you get 4 minutes to talk. So I do want to give credit to our committee people. Thank you. You do respect the First Amendment. I do appreciate that. The resolutions that are sponsored by the commissioners, they're named after individuals. I spoke on the record on a couple of them. The ones that specifically got my attention were sponsored by Commissioner Foley. I-15, if you're going to look at the notes, and I-16. The reason I looked at I-15, this was called an authorization to execute a jurisdictional agreement with the New Jersey DOT for Cedar Lane and State Highway 130 in Florence Township. I asked them what that was. The reason I asked them is because our neighbors over in the village were asking me about a road for speed bumps, and I think, Steve, you were talking about you can't really do much because the county owns it. But here, the county actually took over control of the municipal roadway, so they could do some engineering and some traffic control. So there is such a thing as a jurisdictional agreement. Maybe it works both ways. It could be faster, cheaper, more efficient. Work out a jurisdictional agreement with the county for us to take over that road and administer, whatever the issue is in terms of what the village folks would be finding helpful. So that's just a suggestion. You're going to know more about the jurisdictional agreement than I have. The other one was I-16. Authorization of a professional service agreement with Net Architects in the amount of $1,735,000 for architectural services for the emergency housing shelter in West Hampton Township for the Department of Public Works. The agenda on the website is literally just this. There's no documentation, there's no paperwork, there's nothing. I didn't even know what this was. My public comment was, I asked them, the commissioners, if there was a fiscal impact statement that accompanied this. They had no idea what I was asking about. So the solicitor talked to me off the record. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get my comments on the record because I would have pressed them on that. Off the record, I said to the solicitor, it would have been helpful to have a fiscal impact statement. This is going to be a massive, massive complex that they're building here. Do you know anything about this? homeless shelter that they're building?
I've only heard what you got there, that it's an emergency shelter to be done on the complex at the Human Services Building.
Yeah, so it's coming online at some point, right? So it got the attention of a few other folks that specifically attended. The reason I asked about the fiscal impact statement was I didn't have an opinion one way or the other about it being built, developed, et cetera. Funding is being provided, I guess, by the county. The fiscal impact statement that I was looking for was, what's the fiscal impact to us as a host? Because I said if there's an industrial accident, a workers-related accident, some sort of fire or police emergency, we're going to be responding first. So there's going to be a cost to us as the host to respond to that. That was a conversation I had off the record with the solicitor. I would like that to be on the record, but I'm totally 100% nobody. Only you can enforce that. Now, one of the other persons in attendance was woman Anna Evans from Haynesville. She is actually, in her official capacity, the committee's liaison to the county commission. I don't know if she goes to every meeting or not, but she showed up at this one to introduce herself, provide a letter of introduction, etc. She made a statement. I don't know if you are interested in adopting a portfolio, one of you. I have an idea who I would appoint. I'll appoint the deputy mayor. I'd like her to take on the portfolio of being the liaison for our township to the county commission. I don't know if she has to go to every meeting, maybe just go to the meetings that just West Hampton is on the agenda, etc. But maybe you can caucus with them at Queen's Point to find out what they're doing, see if that's helpful to learn. That's just a suggestion I have. Basically, back to that shelter. There was a gentleman who was a pastor. He was very passionate about the homeless shelter. He wants it done right. I think we all want it done right. And there was an architect that studied this in California. He wrote a book about it. He actually brought the book and showed it to everybody. But more importantly, what he left them with was his contact details as someone that they could consult with. He said, if you are interested, I'll be interested in giving my opinion, feedback, etc. He also left them with a document that contained 80 questions. He said, if you're going to be building this, these are the 80 questions you need to ask. I would like us to get a copy of those 80 questions. And frankly, I'd also like us, meaning the collective here of West Hampton, to also have an invitation to have input in the development of that structure. Just a suggestion I have. Seems to be other people outside of West Hampton are very interested in that. I think it's only fair, since we're the host, that we have some input into that as well. Just a suggestion.
What's the name of that pastor?
Gary.
I'll look here if I can read my notes, but his name will be in the minutes probably. So sorry about that. The other thing is, yes, I saw in the paper that New Jersey received some federal funding for lead abatement, lead pipe abatement. Are you aware of anything? I don't know what the figure is. The reason I'm bringing this up here is that, unfortunately, we're serviced by two different MUAs, right? I know my water bill goes up, your water bill goes up, because we're abating some of that stuff. I just would like to know if there's a way for us, i.e. you, to make sure you're focusing with Mount Holly and Willingboro to find out, hey, are any of these federal funds being earmarked for any lead pipe abatement in any of the MUAs that service West Hampton that possibly impact our rates? That's just a suggestion I have.
Thank you, Gary.
This one.
We never know. Do we have anyone else? Close public comment, all in favor?
Aye.
Dates to remember, next township meeting is February the 21st, budget workshop at 6 p.m., regular meeting minutes at 7 p.m., land development board meeting March 1st at 7 p.m., historic commission February 22nd at 7 p.m., recreation committee March 8th at 7 p.m., Coffee with a Cop at 7-Eleven at 939 Wood Lane Road, Friday, February 17th at 9 p.m. Do we have any committee liaison reports or comments?
I'd like to respond. Gary, I usually go to the meetings at the county. I give you credit for going to the last one because I was not going to go out in the storm with 35-mile winds. But several times I have talked to the county and I've talked to our police chief about them. Started out as a homeless shelter, but when Congressman Kim gave him $30 million to build it, $3 million to build it, he turned it into more of affordable housing. They want to build 60 small apartments, and they just spent $1,700,000 to the architect, so you can imagine how much that building is going to cost. It's more than half of what Andy Kim gave him to build the building. So I'm very concerned because several times I've said at the county, who's going to go to the ambulance to them? Who's going to break up the fights? Who's going to do this? We are already doing everything from one end of Wood Lane Road to the other end of Wood Lane Road, and you keep building more and giving us absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Where is it going to be?
It was supposed to be a small one in the parking lot of Human Services, but it's too big for that, so I don't know where it's going to be connected, though, to Human Services.
On Wood Lane Road.
On Wood Lane Road, yes. In West Hampton. And they did say, yes, it's in West Hampton, you have to service it. I can't talk about it anymore because it upsets me. Last night I attended the Bowman's budget seminar. Oh my goodness, that was absolutely wonderful. My head is still spinning. I have a lot more respect for our CFO, what they have to go through, and the state gave us a present. If you remember last year, we were in the bind because our trash people doubled their how much they charge us for collection. And it really put our budget in a tizzy. The state has now said that if trash or recycling or a couple of other things, if their cost goes up more than 3.5%, we don't have to cover it in our cap. We still have a limit of what we can spend in taxes, but if we start getting more taxes from the Horton, we can't spend them if it's more than 2.5%. So now this is not going to be within that cap. So if they double it again, we only have to take a 3.5% increase on that for our cap. And that is a big help. I wish they had done it last year. It made a big difference. School, artwork, the intermediate school gave us artwork, and thank you to Samantha. She put it up in the second floor. You can go up with the nice little frames, and the students have their name on it or name around it, and it's a way of bringing this school and us together. We're having the Black History Essay Contest. The topic is going to be To Me, Equality Means. They're working on it in February. They'll be done by the end of February. Last year we did 5th and 6th grade. There's a lot of work for the teachers, so this year we're doing 7th and 8th grade. It will be typed, and they will have the winners, first and second, for each grade come give their essays to us, and they'll read them. I'm also interested, anyone in the Township Committee wants to help read them. Now, excuse me, I'm sorry. Otis. It has an us in it.
That's what it
Otis.
is.
Last year you were a big help, but this year you have 2 committees are on, Board of Education and this, and you're working as the undersheriff, as well as your side job with flipping houses, so if you don't have the time, I understand, sir.
I'd love to help.
But I would love any help that we can have. You read it, you don't know who the kids is, you rate it from 1 to 5, and we put it together. So anyone who's interested, please see me. Wait a second. I had a concern. I didn't get to talk to Wendy about this yet. The consent agenda. It seems like we vote 2 things. We vote on the bills, and we vote on the consent agenda. The consent agenda is for routine, non-controversial items into a group to be passed at once. And sometimes I wonder if some of the things really ought to be consent. I don't think anything that has an official resolution should be a consent. It's not something that you just say, okay, it doesn't make that much difference, we're passing it. Reducing tax or repaying taxes or things like that, our consent, but I think that we need to start having resolutions be voted on. In the past, some of you know Donna Ryan, who was our administrator for many, many years. We would have a resolution, it would get a first and a second, and Donna then would say to the residents, this is what this resolution is about. We wouldn't have a talking back and forth, but she would explain it to the residents, and that way it can be something that is understandable. We're talking about transparency. To have two votes is not a lot of transparency, unless one of us say, let's stop and talk about this. So I would like to ask us to consider that. And again, I'm going to ask the same thing again, that we have a workshop meeting to discuss goals for the new year. I believe every township director, head of the thing, should have goals for their department. The administrator has goals. We should look at them, add a few of our own. If you're not going to have a goal, you don't know where you're going. You can't move forward. You'll come, you'll pass things, you'll come, you'll pass things. We need to plan where we're going. And we need to have a meeting where we can talk. And it's very hard for us to talk this way. We need to be in a meeting room. Which goes to the meeting room. We're going to have the budget meetings in the meeting room. Now, if we have this many people at a budget meeting, they're not going to fit. We used to have a meeting room, Bob, you would know, for Historical Society. We'd have 3 little tables at the front for the people in the committee, and then about 20, 30 chairs. Now we have this huge table where we can sit around and maybe 3 or 4 people can kind of squeeze into the corners. I looked around, we have 4 of these tables in our building, in our side of the building. 4 of them. I don't think we need 4 huge tables. I know they were free, it's wonderful. I would like to see a different place for the one in the meeting room, and the meeting room turn into a meeting room where we can have meetings with the residents, and they can be a part of what's going on. So, I think, let me see. I think that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I really appreciate your comments. I'd just like to say I understand the frustration in people's voices. I understand the frustration that you've expressed with the process and how seemingly slow some of the moving wheels actually turn. But to speak on a few things that people have said today, as far as transparency, we do have a budget meeting, next meeting, the 21st of February. I look forward to visiting our website, increasing the transparency and accessibility for our residents, credit card payments, things of that nature. I think Wendy's been working on it with Craig for a while now and trying to plan that out. I look forward to our public safety increasing their manning. I think the chiefs have worked very hard on putting forward a comprehensive plan to be able to increase the manning that hasn't increased in several years, that kept up with our growth. So I look forward to that as well. Sir, with the open space comment, the state has opened a grant for funding to acquire space. I'm looking into that. Maybe in the budget meeting, if there's room, we could look for a grant writer of that sort. Only part of that equation that really matters is the person that owns the land has to want to sell it. So, but I do look forward to pursuing that source of funding and keeping that. And the last note I'd say is we are looking forward strategically to the growth of our town, not only now, but in the distant future as well. There's been a concerned citizen that's called, I think, all of us on this committee, and the mayor and I drafted a letter to the school superintendent asking to identify the needs of the school now and in the future so we can work with the schools and try to plan for that. So that's all I have, and I do appreciate all of you for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who came out, especially our professionals, Bob, Wendy, Sam, the chiefs, the residents are always welcome. Speed bumps that we talked about, I did reach out to the county. We talked about the speed bumps. I don't know that that's a county road. Like, it kind of kicked back that it wasn't necessarily a county road. But now, the other part about speed bumps is just something to think about, like an FYI. When the county does do speed bumps, they enter into an agreement where they will put the speed bumps down, but the townships will pay the full load if they have to pull those speed bumps up. And one of the things that the engineer talked about was that a lot of people want speed bumps, but now you hear speed bumps all night long. And what happens is the neighbors tend to want them up after you get them for a while. So one of the things that when I met with Wendy that we talked about is looking into the four-way stop sign. That seems like a nice compromise versus, like, I never really thought about the speed bumps until, like, I drove over them. I'm like, this does make a lot of noise. And the other part was, we talked about the fire department and what it means for our trucks and the ambulance to go over top of those speed bumps. So in actuality, we may be, creating some damage to those things as well. So just didn't want you to think that what you were talking about was being unheard that day. I did reach out, and that was something that we did talk about, and just giving me different options from what he's seen throughout the county and what's helped and what hasn't helped. So, and then circle back with Wendy. I think I have fire department down here, but I feel like Craig has answered a lot of those questions as far as it's not costing us any money. And so the county, although I now would get a little bit deeper in this, I know, Odie's going to have some people that he's going to contact about the homeless shelter, but the county does do a lot on that road, and I think that I've seen someone make a comment previously that there's things that we don't pay for with the county. So that's why they look at it as though, it's kind of like recycling, we don't pay for that. There's different things that the county does establish for us as residents, even though they're in West Hampton or wherever they are, that we don't pay for as residents. So I know that's one of their points. But, I trust Odie's going to, reach out to the right people and get some more detailed answers about that for the concerns that you guys have brought up. Other than that, listen, again, I appreciate, all feedback, and, again, 262nd time, we're residents, so we do want the most out of the master plan that's gonna touch everyone. That's why see me taking notes, Odie taking notes, our solicitor taking notes, Wendy taking notes, just to make sure that we get as much in there as we possibly can for the residents. Knowing that we haven't done a master plan for 15 years, so I can't put it on the next people, whoever is going to be here, to be able to do it. We want to make sure that we're addressing a lot of those needs that we can. And I talked about the expense of the master plan, but we want to get as much done that's affordable, to be able to touch all parts of the town. That's going to make sense and put us in a position to be successful. So with that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, and go Birds. With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Are you signing?
No, not yet.